Hello everyone, Dr. J here and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to make my wife and I's favorite dessert, a very simple creme brulee. And it just takes a few simple ingredients, a little bit of elbow grease, but not very much to be honest. The hardest part with the creme brulee is the wait, because you got to let them sit in the oven for at least 4 hours, or sit in the fridge for at least 4 hours once you're done, to let them cool down completely. I think they're incredibly simple. They're absolutely delicious. I think you'll love them. I'll bring you down here to the workstation and show you how these come together. So the ingredients we have in this are very simple. I've got some regular eggs. These are large size. We're going to take the yolks out of these only. That's all we need, so you can keep the egg whites for another project that you've got. Make some egg white omelets or some meringue. 1 vanilla bean. And I like to put just a splash of real vanilla with it as well to really accentuate that vanilla flavor. Some sugar and some heavy cream, and that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and break open these eggs, get the yolks out of them, and I'm gonna cream together a 1/2 cup of sugar with 8 egg yolks. Now that we've got our yolks separated, I'm going to put a 1/2 cup, just regular pure cane sugar. And I'm going to mix this together thoroughly for probably between 2 and 5 minutes, depending on what it takes to get a real smooth consistency with this. Really cream the eggs and the sugar together well. And I'll go ahead and get started on that, and we'll see what it looks like when it's done. There we go, and that's what our yolks and sugar are going to look like once they're all beat together. To this, we're going to add 1 vanilla bean, just a splash of vanilla, and 2 cups of heavy cream, and then mix those in for another 1 to 2 minutes to make sure everything's incorporated well. So I'll go ahead and get these in here, get it mixed up, and we'll get it ready to strain and put into our ramekins. For the vanilla bean, what I want to do is split this on one side all the way through. Get it to where you can see it a little better here. Try not to cut all the way through to the other end, but get it to where we can open it up and scrape all of the little vanilla bean seeds that are inside here out. I don't know if you can see the little seeds in there or not. You can scrape those off with a knife, and that's what you see when you've got a vanilla bean custard or creme brulee. Or even vanilla bean ice cream. It doesn't look like that. It would house very much vanilla flavor, but it's packed full with vanilla flavor. And with that spread open, I take my knife here at the very top. Once I get it to cooperate, I scrape out every last bean I can get and get it into the mixture. We will strain this before it goes in the ramekins to make sure that we get out any other dirt or organic matter or anything from that bean pod. I just want to make sure I get in here. This 1 bean is $8 at my local grocer. I found some at Amazon where I can get 10 of them for 25 bucks, so I'm going to do that before I make this again. I also had to go to 3 grocery stores to be able to find it. It was very hard to find. I'm also going to add just a splash of vanilla. I prefer original. It's more expensive, but if you want to use the imitation, you can. I just don't understand why we would want to do that if we spent that much money on a vanilla bean pod. Just going to put a little splash in there as well. That'll help accentuate that vanilla flavor. And 2 cups of heavy cream. got a pretty fine strainer there. We'll take our mixture and we're gonna run it right through the strainer. This will catch any bits of extra egg that didn't combine together well, parts of the vanilla bean pod that we don't want in here. Just make sure we've got a good, nice, smooth mixture. So I've got my ramekin set up inside of this is a jelly roll pan. And I used this container because it's got a little bit of a spout. It helps me to pour it in there a little easier. And I'm gonna fill these pretty well full. I don't want to overfill them so that they come out when they're cooking, but I want to make sure to get plenty of mixture in there. I have 4 of each kind of ramekin, and this makes a little more than what 4 will hold. So it always takes 6. So I've got 2 of these smaller ones as well. So I've got my oven heated up to 300 degrees, and we're gonna bake these in a water bath. So I've got my tap water in my sink as hot as it'll go, and I keep mine at about 140 degrees, so it's pretty warm. And I'm gonna fill up about 2/3 of the way up these ramekins. It'll take me a couple of these containers to get that water up, and then I'm gonna very carefully transfer this into that 300 degree oven for 45 minutes to 50 minutes, depending on how your oven works. For mine, 45 is perfect, depending on your elevation and your type of oven. You may need the extra 5 to make sure that that custard sets. But I'm gonna bake these for 45 minutes, pull them out, set them on a cooling rack, and let them cool to room temperature. Once they're to room temperature, I'm gonna wrap them up and put them in the fridge for at least 4 hours. That'll give that time to set completely and cool down all the way through. And then we'll put some extra fine sugar that I've got on it, hit it with the blowtorch, and put that nice brulee on there. Crème Brulee means burnt cream in French, and it's good. So I'm gonna fill this rest way up and get it in the oven. There we go. In 45 minutes, we'll pull them out on the cooling rack and cool down to room temperature. See you in a few. So I thought I'd show you what we're looking at. We're 7 minutes left. All right, our 45 minutes are up. So I can get these pulled out. There we go. So I'm gonna let this sit. I'm gonna let this sit on the cooling rack for probably 25-30 minutes to get it all the way down just to room temperature, and let these cool completely before we wrap them up and put them in the fridge for at least 4 hours. The way I wrap these is I put them in Ziploc baggies. It just makes it a little simpler. You're not trying to wrap everything around, stuff's not getting stuck. I put them in a Ziploc bag. Quart size if I have them, I don't, so I'm gonna use freezer size today. Then they'll sit in the fridge. They won't absorb any odors if you have anything else in there. You know, let them cool down nice and get ready for the sugar. So I'll bring you over in just a second and let you see what these look like right now. Here's what our creme brulees look like. You can tell when you shake them that they're nice and set. No extra wiggle. We'll let this cool completely down to room temperature, and then we'll put them in the fridge. So it's the next day. We've had these in the fridge overnight for about 12 hours now. Put them in about 8 o'clock last night. It's a little after 8 o'clock this morning. We're gonna pull it out of the plastic, put some of this superfine sugar on it. The superfine helps the melt. It makes it melt a little easier. I've used regular sugar and it works just fine, just a little harder to melt. We'll melt that sugar on here, get the nice crust. Go ahead and put it back in the fridge so everything gets cold again for another 20 to 30 minutes. And we'll dig in and have a bite. So take this superfine sugar and spread it all the way around in a thin layer. I don't want too much because then it makes for a real hard crust. Just enough to give a nice coating. And I'll even spread it out a little more once I get it down. I'll make sure it's got a nice even coat. It's ready for a little flame. For the flame, I use just a standard torch. These work pretty well. I haven't had any trouble with it. It's not my preferred method. I used to have a MAP gas blowtorch. I preferred that a lot better, but this works pretty good as well. So you can start working that sugar and try to get that sugar to flow. And there we go. We've got that brulee. We now have some burnt cream, as the French would say, creme brulee. I'm gonna set this back in the fridge, let that chill back through, get that glass top nice and hard, and then we'll crack into this and see what that custard looks like. All right, so there we go. We've been in the fridge for right at 30 minutes. Set the timer and it just went off. So let's dig into this and see what we've got. You hear that nice hard crunch? A good creme brulee, you've got to break through that glass shell on the top. So let's break through it. Exactly what you're expecting. Nice and creamy. You can see in there the little vanilla bean as well. Turns out just exactly the way you expect a good creme brulee. You see just how smooth that is. First batch I did, we would melt the sugar real quick and then eat them as soon as the sugar got hard. And they were very good that way, but they turn out a little better if you go ahead and put it back in the fridge for just a minute. Let that sit, let that custard get cold again. It's just perfect. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. If you like what you saw, give me a big thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. I'll put more videos out soon. I appreciate you joining me and have a great day.